Damon on that shit right now. He wildin'. This man said the rightful heir to the throne. He tried to provoke like a motherfucker. And then took his dead son's egg? The fuck?
Why do you destroy yourself? Will you see the king tonight?
If you wish it.
You're to relinquish the dragon's egg, disband your army, banish your whore, and leave Dragonstone by order of His Grace King Viserys.
Where is the king? I don't see him.
His Grace would never lower himself to entertain such a mummer's farce.
Lady Mysaria is to be my wife.
This is an abomination. With every breath you soil your name, your house, and your brother's reign.
You've come for the egg. Here it is.
To choose violence here is to declare war against your king.
Wonderful.
Even if it ends in the death of your unborn child and its mother.
Who is that? Yo, Damon is wildin'.
All of you, sheathe the fucking steel.
Exactly. Like we have nothing. He has a fucking dragon. Fuck is we gonna do? Yo! That's why earlier I asked, who is that? I thought she was coming then. I didn't realize it was just gonna be his, but yo.
What are you doing here, princess?
Preventing bloodshed.
Sir Kristen, please escort the princess to safety.
Take care not to startle Syrax, my lords. She's rather protective of me. Kepanucha ineze dritoro. Darira rosso brostas. Vedroso dari ohi ikida.
Tubi maneri, Nike de Niklas.
Apraziri ziriema.
Dreptan li dawor.
Sekedje sut nuchon vronkron. Dromon laudigon ao belvitas.
She said, cut this pussy shit
mi
out.
mazum bilo vule. Konir nuhruho sutjailan.
Sekelat.
Razilari Tubi.
This motherfucker David is a dickhead. First off, hold on. First off, when they start talking about marriage, he like, one day I will marry her. and then now it comes out she ain't pregnant at all. He's a dickhead.
If you wish to be restored as heir, you'll need to kill me.
Are you gonna do that?
So do it.
You know he
And
ain't.
be done with all this bother.
So you act like a bitch right now. Cut this pussy shit out and give it a motherfucking egg. Take your sulking ass back in that fucking castle. Look at that hand. Well, shout out to her. She stopped the bloodshed. But it ain't like they gonna be happy she did that though. He said, that's how it's done, bitch.
You announced that we were to be wed, and that I was with child. I ensured long ago that I would never be threatened by childbirth.
Good. Children can be such irritating creatures.
You swore to protect me, Demon.
No one will harm you.
I have been sold as property more times than I care to count. Most of my years have been spent living in terror.
She's like, you making it hot.
Safe with me, I swear it.
I didn't come into your service wanting gold, the power, the station. I came to you to be liberated.
Liberated. From what?
Fear.
Yo, Damon is interested because my assumption is just that early on, as y'all can tell, I'm like, man, he got some ulterior motives. This motherfucker just acting out. He just being a little bitch. Like,
Lord Corlys is your master of ships. And she is the eldest daughter of the wealthiest house in the realm. And she has Targaryen blood. What's to mislike?
She is 12.
She will mature.
I never asked to remarry.
As king, you have a claim on all things, even those you don't want. Marriage is not an obligation you can put off for long. You should also consider that we find ourselves on the precipice of war in the Stepstones.
So you
And
need
the
him.
Sea Snake holds claim to nearly half the realm's ships.
Right.
He would not dare withhold them in the face of the realm's need.
The Sea Snake has made a calculated reach. Fair play for a man of his position. You should wed Lena Velaryon, Your Grace.
The princess has returned from Dragonstone.
You're like,
Dragons.
what? Dragonstone? Her ass supposed to be in bed right now. The fuck?
You are my only heir. You could have been killed. You went to Dragonstone.
And retrieve the egg without bloodshed. A feat I'm not sure Sir Otto could have accomplished alone.
Your mother's absence is a wound that will never heal.
Pleases me to hear you say this. To know that I'm not alone in my grief.
She understands what is now expected of me.
The king must take a new wife.
I could never replace your mother. No more than I intend to replace you as heir. But you are my only heir. And our line is vulnerable. I have decided to take a new wife.
It's not gonna be his daughter, is it?
I intend to marry.
It's what I thought. Yeah.
The Lady Alicent Hightower.
My house is Valerian, the greatest power in the realm.
And I am your king. Rhaenyra.
Sitting there in front of the motherfucking candles.
House Valerian's origins reach back to old Valyria, more ancient even than House Targaryen. We were no dragon lords. For centuries, my house had to scratch out an existence from the sea with grit. Unlike every other lord of the realm, I can say that I built my house's high seat with the strength of mine own back. I've always thought of you and I as having been made from the same
Damon.
cloth. We've been passed over too often. You've heard of the troubles in the Stepstones. I have been petitioning the king to send my navy into the territory, but he's denied me.
It was never my brother's strongest trait.
What?
Being king.
The Crab Feeder is backed by powerful entities within the Free Cities who wish to see Westeros weakened. If those shipping lanes fall, my house will be crippled. I will not have Driftmark beggared while our king idles himself with feasts and balls and tourneys.
I will speak of my brother as I wish.
But you won't.
You will not.
We are the realm's second sons, Daemon. Our worth is not given, it must be made.
In the first episode, I didn't want to speak over that final scene, but we noticed in that last episode that what Corlys does in the during the council meeting, right, is you'll see him. He'll side with Daemon, right? He'll say, "Hey, nah, we got an heir. This is who it belongs to. Hey, you know." But the moment it was up for grabs, he's like, "Well, my wife should be in there," and it's deeper than that, right? It's deeper than just his wife should have some sort of claim. What it is, and he explains it. They're Valerian. The Valorians just didn't have dragons like the Targaryens. Simple as that. So they go to the sea, and it's hard work, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to the seas, who was running it? All the way back then, when they were talking about all them thousands of dragons and all that. Basically, up until him, the way he puts it, up until him, he personally, the other houses, the people who are at the head of their houses are living off the name of their houses and the people that came before him. He's like, no, me, I built this house to what it is, to be able to sit there at that table across from the king. But he's like, dog, I keep telling the king, yo, these shipping lanes, this crab feeder motherfucker is out here doing us dirty. Specifically doing me dirty. If I lose these shipping lanes, I lose my standing. I lose my place. I lose what I am. And the house loses its clout. The thing about this that we know from watching Game of Thrones and just watching all sorts of medieval shit is once your house loses its clout, it's not like, oh, you then can regain it back. It's like, no, other motherfuckers are there willing to take your spot and will take it. Right? And that's a big fear for him. Now, it's a big fear for him, but he was willing to kind of ride along with it when he thought, well, maybe I won't lose my standing if I marry my daughter to the king. So no matter what happens with those shipping lanes, the Valorians are back merged with these Targaryens. The Valerian shit is popping, and now we got somebody on the throne. So as a family, we're set. So when he had that, he's like, okay. So he's sitting there looking at the table. I mean, not looking. He's sitting there at the table, and we could all feel it coming that Alicent was going to be the one, right? We all got that. By the elite, for me, it was right when they put the camera on Corlys's face. I'm like, he's smiling. Oh, he ain't getting it. All right. Some of y'all probably got that and understood what was happening. Sometimes I'm a little late. Forgive me. So Corlys goes and speaks with Daemon. Now, this is what's interesting about Daemon. Yo, because of who he is and how he looks, my assumption was not only in the first episode, he's an evildoer. It's that his ulterior motives, they're outlined and they're solid, and he has plans going on in the background. But it seems like, at least for right now, he ain't got no plans. He just lashing out. He feel like in that first episode, his brother was playing him, gave him this weak ass job, sent him to some other spot, had him marry some lady he don't fuck with. So he's lashing out. Okay. But then you get to this episode and he takes the egg. I'm sitting here like, what? Why would he do this? Why is he trying to antagonize his brother? Because for me, that threw me off because I'm like, oh, I thought, well, maybe Daemon wants to, at the very least, protect his brother, right? He knows he's not, he looks at him as not being a good king, as he joked about. Daemon, the thing that I'm getting from him now is this. This is what I'm getting from him. He's moving how he moves, right? He's not just out here planning and in the background like Otto. He just really feels like his brother ain't built for it and really feels like he deserves his place, right? Because if there is no male heir, who is the crown prince? Me. So he takes that away from me, right? So of course he feels away. Rhaenyra. When we get to the second episode, for me, I'm like, wait, she's still a cupbearer? What the fuck? Okay, whatever. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just traditional, whatever. But all I know is that when it's a crown prince, all his training goes to that. Like that shit they was doing in the first episode with Alicent, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like it's train, how to sword fight, politics, the histories, all this shit. They got her doing that still? Okay, whatever. I'm thinking it's just one scene, whatever. Then they talk about it's been half a year since her mom passed. I'm like, she been still doing this for half a year? Then she tries to speak up in this meeting and it's like, wait, little girl, don't do this. That was more about her being young and opening her mouth when her pops was talking. That moment right there wasn't even about her being a young woman, a young girl. That was like not, you know how he feel about the dragons and everything and how they're utilized. And he says this, he's trying to avoid war and stuff. So flexing dragon riders and shit, he's not trying to do that, right? As the king of the realm, he's trying to protect and ensure war doesn't happen. So when she does that, she's just saying it's a problem. I'm gonna fix it. Okay, that's one. So then he sends her away. Go pick somebody for my king's guard. What she do there? It's a problem. I'm gonna fix it. Otto and he's like, yo, we got other houses. Like, you know, they try to secure bonds and shit like that. That's how this usually goes. She's like, no, this is the king's guard. This is my fault. Like, there's certain things where you saw in that first scene that I was talking about where she's a cupbearer and she butts in. Fall back. Right. This is adults talking, right? But in that scene, there's certain things where it's so just all that other shit, you need to cut that out. All the politics, get that the fuck out of here. The king's guard, the people who are charged of protecting the king, fuck the politics. We want the best. That's how she looking at it. And it's like, okay, right? Yeah, I understand where she's coming from with that. But it was dope to see Rhaenys over there looking at her. Because as I said, Rhaenys, she's looking and sizing her up. Right? She's seeing how she does this shit. Remember, for her, it's all political because not only was she so close to being a queen, her cousin's in charge. She's looking at the young lady who right now is holding the spot that she's like, man, I should probably have that shit, right? And for her, all she has to do all day, she ain't got, what does Rhaenys have to do all day? Think about how messed up that is. If she's the queen, she's always busy, right? Like, because Corlys, he's not king. When she becomes queen, a queen can't make a lord a king or anybody a king. Only a king can make a woman a queen, right? So if she's queen, think about how busy she'd be. She'd be the lord of the realm. She'd be over all of this shit. But now all she has to do is just sit around and just be like, but you don't see her pouting. I haven't seen her be bitchy, right? Already with Rhaenys, I'm like, okay, I think I get her. But then she has to talk with Rhaenyra. And now I'm like, oh, because she's trying to put her on game. Like, it's not even that she took pity on her or that she was hating on her. She was like, oh, she's not getting that as a woman. It's not just that your father may have to marry. Nobody wants you to be queen. And Rhaenyra is trying to floss on her. Well, they bent the knee for me. And she's like, okay, never forget what this is. Right? Like, and so when Rhaenyra goes and does the dragon rider thing, goes to Dragonstone, right? That's what it's called, Dragonstone. She goes there. All right. Well, first thing, this motherfucker Daemon, he's an asshole. He's sitting there talking about his wife and she's with child, so he gonna take the egg. Oh, horseshit. Mayara, that's her name. Can't recall it right now. I will learn it. She's like, yo, I'm with you because I don't want to feel fear. Like, think about what she is. She's been passed around her whole life. And she thought with him, she had something solid. Because remember, he's up at top. He shouldn't be doing it, getting his hands dirty and all this. And imagine, now she's sitting there and she got a dragon back there and a dragon in front of her. She got armed people behind her, armed people in front of her. And she like, what did I get myself into? Okay. So the motherfucker was lying and all that, Daemon. But to see Rhaenyra just fly up, I thought she was coming earlier, but what she did, I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of expected that. And she goes and gets the egg and she talks her uncle out of the dumb shit he's doing. Right? She's like, you would have to kill me. You gonna kill me? Right? Like, that's the only thing that's gonna change this. You killing me. And he's like, it almost is like, but you know what it is about him? He's a prince, right? And so he's, posture and all of this. So when he acts the way he acts, it's so funny because it's like, dog, you come out here with this gear and all this, and you just acting like a little bitch right now, right? You lash it out. But Rhaenyra coming and do that, it almost, like I said, it was a signal for her father, like, yo, you really fuck with me as heir? So when they sit down and talk, he lets her know, like, yo, I do not want to replace you as the heir, but I got to get married, and I have to have as many children as possible to ensure that this line keeps going on. And so when he gets angry that she was gone as his first reaction, yeah, he's right. That's very fucking stupid. If something happens to her, that's even more pressure on him. Okay. The hand. We already see what was up and his plan worked. I want to see how that goes. This crab feeder guy, right? Shit look crazy. I mean, they just destroying motherfuckers and feeding them to the crabs, right? And for them to show what he kind of looks like, it was like, okay. There was somebody who left a comment in my section, like how in the first episode of Game of Thrones, they basically gave us a hint at there's something that's unknown, but it's like there's fear to it. That there's this unknown thing that they're not just explaining to us, but over time we got more and more of it, right? Whereas with this, I feel like, me personally, this show is not completely unknown. So by the time we're watching this, because Game of Thrones was so big, so their thinking was probably like, we don't even really like, do we need to do that? Like, let's just give this to them, right? So by them even showing who I believe is the crab feeder or whatever, like I feel like their whole thing is, yeah, the whole hiding stuff from everybody. They're probably going to do that. They're going to have some reveals and shit like that. But this just impending danger, they're like, let's just show it. Because for one, we don't want to be seen as biters and, you know. But yeah. Interesting. We had the political intrigue. We're going to see how everything goes going forward. Because of course, Rhaenyra is looking like, Alicent, you was out here acting like, and this is, so of course, she's feeling betrayed by her father and Alicent. But my thing is like the pops, man. The thing about him is people have to keep reminding him, as that one dude that's on his council, they have to keep reminding him, you can take whatever you want. You the king. He almost kind of had to say that to himself when he says it to Corlys, like, I am your king, right? And then there's this other part. Even though he has that conversation with his daughter, he's the king. So yeah. He knows how his daughter would feel about it. He said that to Alicent earlier in the episode. What does he say? He's like, you don't be talking to her about this shit, do you? Right? He's like, so yeah, keep this on the hush, right? So he knows how Rhaenyra would feel about it. But he has to get married. And so he made the decision he made because why? At the end of the day, he's the king. Right? He has to do what he has to do. Hey, next episode.